Welcome to Inside Style, and I am your host, George Worrell. Today we are talking about leadership, creativity, and ideas of the greater good. Our guest today is John Good, Executive Director of Washington Area Lawyers for the Arts, an organization that supports artistic expression and creative innovation by providing critical legal resources to artists in the DMV. John, welcome.
Thank you, George. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I stumbled on your website maybe a year or so ago. And I thought, first I had to think of myself as an artist. And reading the website, because I needed help, I was like, what do I do legally? Because I knew when I started my first endeavor, which was event planning, and then I went into styling, I always had contracts. And now that I went into the radio television field, I'm like, I think I need those too. So this is going to be a great conversation, and we're going to learn a lot today from you. So tell us a little bit of how you got to this, what you're doing right now, and what it's about. What was your journey to get
the
there?
long and winding road, if you would.
Yeah.
So my degree is in music. I have a degree in music management, which they now call music business or music industry. At the time, back in the early 80s, it was a very new degree. In fact, I think there were only 4 schools that offered it at the time. James Madison University, where I went. I think Florida had it. Berkeley, New England had it. Another university somewhere in the middle of the West. And the concept of that degree is that you get a music degree so that you're fluent at least or proficient in your art, in your instrument, and then you add a business minor to it. So we would have classes like accounting, contractual negotiations. We had physics for musicians, which was basically audio devices. How does all this stuff work? That kind of thing, which kind of gave us a basic understanding of how to run a business, what to look for in terms of, potholes along the way. But the idea was that we would then go out and then help promote music, musicians. So my career followed sort of a circuitous path. I started with the Washington Area Performing Arts Society, right, which is now WPA, Washington Performing Arts. And I was an intern there in their marketing and sales department. I would write the program notes for the Gewandhaus Orchestra of Leipzig or whatever performance they were putting on at the Kennedy Center. And then I left WPAS and went to Wolf Trap as a grant writer. I guess they figured if I could write, content copy, I could probably write grants, right? So,
what is the art to that? Because there's an art to writing a grant.
There is. It's very much, and I come from a long line of editors and writers. My father, his father before him with the Washington Post. So I think writing has always been a forte for me, and it's just something that's kind of natural. I have to jump back and tell a story. So when I was a kid, you know how you would come in after school break and they would have you write what I did last summer sort of thing?
Yeah.
Now imagine I'm in like 2nd or 3rd grade. I don't remember. I had one of those big pencils that you like laid on your shoulder, and you wrote on the double staff paper. And I wrote, this is what I did last summer. And my father says, well, let me see it. So I gave it to him, and he got out his red pen and he edited it, right? He's like, you can tighten up here. This word isn't proper here. There's a misspelling, right? Go do it again. So I went back to my little room and I wrote my new one with the edits on it. He's like, I don't know. It still needs to be tightened up a little bit. And it's sort of that early training of concise, communicative sort of focus that really helps you in terms of writing grants.
So are you speaking to, and I've heard this before because we're probably going to be starting to look at grants, but you're speaking to the grant. So when grant writer, like the people who look at grants, what are they looking for?
First and foremost, I think you have to have an understanding of the funder and what their intention is to do with their money, right? See how that aligns with your organization's mission, and then communicate it in a way that's compelling and emotional, right? I mean, yes, you can throw numbers out there all day, and a lot of government grants require statistics, man. It is all qualitative, right? I mean, they want to know how many people, what's the cost per person, what's my investment, what's the return on what we're putting in, right, in terms of economic impact in the community, all this kind of stuff. Those are all things that helps support your grant, but what really compels the funder to fund you is making a personal connection, and they believe in what you're doing, and they feel that it has value.
On paper.
Right. So know your audience. communicate where the ties that bind both of your organizations fall, and then hopefully you'll have a compelling argument that you can back up with stats. So when you write a grant, you have relatively limited space to communicate these things. So being able to get the most punch out of the fewest words.
Yeah. Because
right.
sometimes they're characters. Or you have to say this in 275 characters.
Right.
Or,
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So from the music and writing, where did that take you next?
Okay, so let's see. Where were we? I was at...
you were at writing the proposals. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So at Wolf Trap Foundation, which is, by the way, a public-private partnership between a national park for the performing arts and a private foundation that does the programming. The Wolf Trap Foundation actually administers the facility. So left Wolf Trap, went to Blues Alley, where I was executive director of the Blues Alley Music Society. That was very rewarding as a musician. I was like at the heart of it, right? And what we did there was we had a couple of all-star high school bands where we gave kids opportunities to work with the artists who came into the club. And we would take those artists and take them into other community outreach programs. Like we'd take them into a master class at Ellington, or we'd have them go to a nursing home and do a performance there, that kind of thing. So it was more of the outreach of the club. Left Blues Alley, went to the Fairfax Symphony Orchestra, where I was their director of development for a number of years. While at Fairfax Symphony, I put together a new nonprofit organization called the Virginia Jazz Service Organization, which was modeled after Willard Jenkins' National Jazz Service Organization at the time. And we were sort of the first state affiliate, if you will, of that model. And that what VJSO did was basically went around the Commonwealth of Virginia to native jazz artists in the Commonwealth and help them get their stuff together, put together an EPK.
What is an EPK?
Electronic press kit.
Okay.
Help them do a demo, help them work their contracts out, help them do their marketing, sort of promote the field, if you will.
So are you finding that, I don't know about now, but then and now, that artists, we think about our art, right? Exclusively.
Indeed, as you should.
Right. But you, as we were talking earlier, I came in from the back end.
Right.
So as an event planner and as a fashion stylist, I was always with my business attorney. He suggested always a contract. So contracts have always been in my head. So with TV and radio, that's what I loved about your organization, is because with artists, how do you pan those together, because you need them and understand them.
Right.
So
right. It's not mandatory, right? I mean, you can work for hire, play these side gigs, right? Club dates, whatever. Get your cash, go home. What you want to do is you want to somehow monetize that art so that it continues to pay in perpetuity. So it's not just a snapshot in time of that recording session where you got $250 and you walked on your way. What you want is, I got $250 and walked on my way, and if this gets distributed on the internet, if this gets used as a soundtrack in a movie, I want to be compensated for the work for the creative process that I put into this. So there are lots of residuals, lots of different ways that you can monetize your art, so that if it's stellar, somebody picks it up and it's in the next F1 movie soundtrack, you can be compensated for it. And you should be compensated for it, right? You should. Because, so I didn't come to this understanding until, despite my education where they told me what I was supposed to do, I really didn't lock it down until my late 30s, early 40s. And I am not a celebrity. I am not that visionary musician who's going to be a star. I'm just not. You had to understand that early in my career. I'm a utility musician who's a sideman. Yeah. Right.
But you're working with people who should know this. Like you're constantly putting out all of this work, and the people that you're working with or you're contracting with, they know this. You may not know it, but they know it. Yeah. And they're not going to really say anything until you act on it.
Well, I don't think people are trying to hold other artists down or hold them back or not acknowledge them. Yeah. But I do think it's important that you understand your business and you understand where the opportunities are to monetize your business. Even if you're not Taylor Swift, right? You can still make a living doing this. I have. For 40 years I have, right? And you don't know me at home. You don't know me. I'm John Good. Okay? He plays trombone. He plays bass.
But he's paid.
Yeah, but I'm paid. So at the ripe old age of 40 or so, I LLC'd myself, right? I created a good management group, GMG Events, and I set up the structure so that I could move my business and my work through that entity to protect myself, but to also give me some additional monetization opportunities, right? I started paying attention to contracts. I checked that little box for residuals at the bottom, you know? And these type of things, if you lay those stones, you build a road, right? So if you lay those stones, the pathway becomes a trail, becomes a little bit more. And eventually, now down the road at 60, I get checks in the mail for stuff I did back when I was 30.
I like that.
Right?
El cheque es bueno.
So sometimes it's surprising when they come in, you're like, oh, what's this for? And you're like, oh my God, that date back then did this? Okay, cool. You know, I'll take it to the bank.
That's exciting because to be able to make a living, like for me, and we're in the same age group, that for something that I love that I would do for free and many times have, brings that reward, and to be able to, on top of it, be able to get money or, you know, aside from, oh, that was great, but here's a check, is great. For those who are listening and watching, give us a little bit, talk about what your organization is about and what it does.
Okay, so Washington Area Lawyers for the Arts is a nonprofit organization. It was founded in 1983, and what we do is provide legal services to creatives. Now, when I say creatives, I'm talking about not just artists, writers, dancers, choreographers, musicians, the gambit of the creative community, but also makers. So people who have patents, someone who comes up with a process and they patent that process, or someone who makes a machine or a device or a microphone and they patent that process. So it's creators and makers, right?
Wow.
So what we do is we have an army, essentially, of volunteer attorneys here in the District of Columbia, Virginia, and Maryland, who volunteer their time to help artists through legal complexities. Now, there's no art law, per se. I did take a legal class in college, and they will teach you law and for your music management degrees nowadays, but there's no art law per se. There's just a lot of places where art and law intersect, right?
Okay.
It could be contracts, it could be licensing, it can be creation, it can be commission work, it can be all kinds of different things. But you have to understand how to navigate the legalities of that to make sure that you get paid and that your client is happy, that they get what they paid for, and to make sure that everything is sort of mapped out, if you will, and through that. Then there are other considerations that WALA deals with as well. If you have, gosh, I don't know, if you feel your rights have been infringed on, if you lost your lease because of something having to do with your studio space or having to do with you creating your craft, we'll represent you in those instances as well. There's a lot of different ways that WALA can support creatives and makers, no matter what the gist, what the stripe.
Who do you think thought of this, that this was a need? I mean, it's a great need.
Well, no, I'm glad you asked that. So back in the early 80s, there was a concept in the District of Columbia in particular that artists would get to a certain level, and then without the support structure necessary to take them to that notoriety level beyond, they would have to leave the district and move to New York or Milan or LA, right? And we were having artists leave our community. Valuable artists who had been here since childhood were leaving the District of Columbia to try to find to make their money elsewhere, and we wanted to have an infrastructure in place so they didn't have to go to New York. Right around the same time, VLA New York, Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts New York, was founded. I think in '81. Great concept, right? And what it was exactly what WALA does. In fact, we share a lot of the same DNA. And then right around the same time, California Lawyers for the Arts was established. Now, of course, the differences are, you got Broadway, you got New York. It's New York, right? Of course, you're going to have a VLA in New York. California, movie industry, lots of it there. There's one in Nashville, obviously big on music. But we were the third one to be founded in 1983. Again, we shared DNA on our originating board of directors from both VLA New York and California, and they said we need to have one here. So our founding board was established so that it's 50% artists, 50% attorneys, because we wanted to make sure it didn't become this sterile sort of legal thing. We wanted to make sure it didn't get crazy, and
Crazy,
right.
yeah,
So and that's one of our guiding principles now. Our board of directors right now is a 50-50 split.
What do you think attracts lawyers, busy lawyers, corporate lawyers, artist lawyers to say, hey, I'm going to, because they volunteer, right?
Absolutely.
What do you think the attraction is that they would want to volunteer for this organization?
It's twofold. One, we have really interesting cases with really interesting people, right? So if you're a corporate contract attorney, last thing you want to do is review another contract.
Yeah.
You work with an artist, that's pretty exciting, and you can see the work blossom, perhaps get it over any speed bumps that were necessary, and then you have a hand in the creative process, right? So I think that's probably the main thing that attracts people, is that they want to work with someone interesting, they want to do good, and they want to create, right?
And do you think they may see talent too? Maybe could they look and see, this guy's got a show, or this woman has talent, but this is what's missing. This legal, like they don't know that if we connect this and this.
That's right. This is the element. This is the spice they need to put that dish over the top, right? Yeah, I think there's that. The other thing is that the District of Columbia has a mandatory continuing, not CLE, but voluntary, pro bono hours you have to log every year to keep your license, right? So you need to do 10 hours in DC. Where do you want to do it? Do I want to review another thing that I do all day at my office, or do I want to do something interesting, maybe see a show and help this artist?
So any lawyer that's licensed in the District of Columbia has to do 10 hours of volunteering a year?
We have lawyers here who are licensed in all jurisdictions, right? Because it is DC. It's also DC. You can't throw a rock without hitting an attorney. There's a lot of folks here.
I know. That was my client base.
There's a lot.
And churches.
So we simply give them, a creative outlet to do what they need to do, to express themselves, to pick up some interesting cases, and do a little good for the community.
What drives you?
I've always been in the nonprofit sector. I've always been in arts. I got out of arts for about 16 years. Like you, I did meeting planning and production work, show work, for a nonprofit association in Alexandria called the American Bankruptcy Institute. Now, the joke there is, of course, it's a direct segue from being a musician to going into bankruptcy, right? But the point is, it's the same skill set from doing concert production and promotion, which I was doing before, to doing conferences, trade shows, meetings. But during those 16 years, I dealt with a lot of judges, a lot of attorneys, and kind of picked up the lifestyle, the jargon, the look, whatever. But it really wasn't feeding my soul. I mean, I was still gigging on the side, but I wasn't really doing what I love to do, which is the arts. Then this position opened up, and it was like the perfect merging of the two worlds, right? So I fortunately was, went through the process and got the gig. And it's been very rewarding because I can actually bring now that skill set, that legal skill set, representation skill set, whatever, advocacy skill set, and add it to the creative side of me and kind of facilitate that.
And you talked about feeding your soul. What do you do outside of work? Because, you have a family and all of those things. What do you do to nurture you?
I still gig 2-3 nights a week. I mean, I play a lot. And that's my outlet. When I don't have a job for a long time, and by the way, I play trombone and euphonium, were my degree instruments, if you will.
Okay.
But I picked up bass like 20 years ago, and like 90% of my work comes because there's bass players in every band. There's not a trombone player in every band, right? But there's bass players work. So I play upright and electric basses, and it's just it just rejuvenates my soul when I have a job, because you focus on what's happening in the moment, on the emotional content, on the musical content, and you can shut the rest of whatever happened during the day out, the phone calls, the bills, the whatever, and just work with those four guys and
just
make it
really
happen. Right?
merge.
It's a tonic for the soul.
I was listening to an English artist before she passed, Maggie Smith, and they talked about being on the West End and going on before a performance. And what is the beat of doing Shakespeare, right? It's the beat of the heart. Like it's inside of you. And each time that you go on stage, you have that opportunity to just go into that orbit and to do it. And the people that are in the audience are the beneficiaries. Yeah. and then you get a chance to do it all over again. There's nothing like the arts. It's nothing like talking. It's nothing like being able to communicate with someone and have a conversation. And that's what this is all about. And what you do is all about. It's just connecting. And I think if we had more young people who could express themselves, like when I was growing up, I would watch TV, but there was no incentive to, I had uncles who were tailors, the fashion industry. I saw it. I wrote a book called Dyed in Wool that I looked at my family from my grandparents. There was so much style and all of these things they sewed, but I wasn't encouraged to do that, right? But I ended up doing that. And I think if we can get young people at an early age or talk about when they are building T-shirts. We do the Marion Barry Summer Youth Program.
And we've actually spoken at that a couple of times.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, I've actually spoken twice at that one. Yeah.
Because when they're making T-shirts,
right,
branding, how am I going to get paid? Putting that licensing and all that stuff together, isn't that amazing? That's exciting.
It really is. And honestly, I think what we're finding in our regulated education system now is that we're losing those opportunities for kids to be exposed to the arts, to orchestra programs, band programs, theater programs, dance programs are continually getting squeezed, and they're just not as prevalent as perhaps they were when we were coming up. Like the marching bands when we were coming up, right? Man, we used to have the best time on Saturdays on the gridiron out there, and people would come for the halftime shows as much as they would for the game. We thought, anyway.
Well, they did, I think. I remember going to, I wasn't much of a sports fanatic, but we went to the games because it was an excitement.
Yeah.
And then halftime, especially, I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey, so we played, I went to both high schools. It was Holy Spirit High School and Atlantic City High. And even now, it's that big game Thanksgiving weekend. And everybody that's home, we still go to that game.
Sure.
So, and it's that marching band and, how they're going to, perform the show.
So I think kids don't have the opportunities now to be in an ensemble setting with other artists who they're communicating with and learning to work in a group, and the whole thing that comes with ensemble musicianship, theater, dance, right? They're just not getting that in the public school systems now. So either their parents have to take the initiative to start them on an instrument, which frankly can be a rough uphill battle at the beginning, right? It's hard, it's difficult, you're doing it alone. Somebody's busting your chops because you're not practicing enough, right? You want to go outside and play kind of thing. So I think that the opportunities are not what they used to be. I also think that we are finding a mass movement to the individual as the creative as opposed to the group as the creative. And a lot of that is facilitated by the internet and about social media and about people with TikToks doing a single shoot, right? You don't see large ensemble stuff as prevalent as you used to. You see one person sitting down and recording something that's freaking amazing, but they're doing it completely on their own in their bedroom.
And as a style show, we can't let you go, but what do you think about your personal style? Or do you think about it when you get up in the morning? Do you think I'm going to put on a gray suit, or do I want to be sweats? Do you think about that in what you do?
I thought that question would come up, George. I really did. And I know we talked about it before, because there's no way I'm going to match your sartorial style. No, honestly. I have always looked at clothing, and I'm so sorry to say this, as a tool.
As it should be. You looked at it the right way.
Honestly, I didn't. I don't know that I shared that opinion with anyone else. But I have sort of a wide variety of interests, right? I have to do the executive thing during the day. I have to do the musician thing at night. Okay, well, what genre am I playing tonight? Am I playing bluegrass? Am I playing jazz? Am I playing classical? If I'm playing bluegrass, I'm wearing a vest and a Western shirt. If I'm playing jazz, it's whatever, a nice suit or a leather jacket or whatever. If I'm playing classical, I'm in a tux. Right? It's the proper tool for the job.
So you're dressing for the position that you
or that builds the understanding of this is my intention and this is my connection to the audience. This is what you came to expect to see. This is what I'm giving you. We've gotten past that. Let's communicate.
Communicate while
right?
I'm here.
So the other side of me that we haven't talked about, do we have a time restriction?
No, go ahead.
The other thing we haven't talked about is that I have a family farm that's been in my family for over 180 years now, a Virginia family farm. And that's a very different vibe altogether from doing this in the city, in the arts, right? And there's a total disconnect between what people understand I do on the farm and how I'm dressed on the farm. And it's been more than once that I've come to a gig in coveralls or whatever, straight from there, and got into a monkey suit, right?
Yeah, and just did
and
your
then
thing.
jumped into a pit and played a gig.
Yeah.
It's a dichotomy of worlds, but it's great because it feeds both sides.
Yeah.
Right.
In our lasting minutes, what would you like to leave with our audience, artists that are out there that are thinking about, in the DMV or wherever, what should they do first? What should they think about when they are becoming artists or they're already in it?
I'm glad you asked. So I'm going to take it right back to the first thing you said. You stumbled onto our website because you needed help. That's how we meet most of the clients who come to Washington Area Lawyers for the Arts. They have a problem, they can't figure the way out of it, they come to us for help. What I want to encourage people to do is be proactive, to empower yourself to understand what those pitfalls may be, and when they come up, be ready for them and just take care of it. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do is go to the WALA website, Washington Area Lawyers for the Arts. It's waladc.org, WALADC.org. Don't stumble onto it. Go there. Take a look at some of the resources that are there. Take some of our classes. They are free. If you become a WALA member, which is I think $50 a year,
$50, yeah, I'm a member.
you can, good on you. You can attend all the workshops for free, and there are a wide variety of workshops dealing with intellectual property rights, right? How to copyright your work, how to trademark, how to patent your work. We talk about contract negotiations. We talk about negotiating skills. Every conversation is a negotiation. When it comes right down to it. Learn how to deal with people. Learn how to communicate with folks. We talk about tax incentives for artists. We talk about any number of things. Empower yourself. Learn so that you can take control of your business and monetize your work and continue to do what you love to do.
Yeah.
Right?
And get paid.
And get paid for it.
Love it.
Exactly.
John, good. Thank you for coming. And thank you out there for listening and tuning into Inside Style. Please tune in to WHUT, my show. We're in Neighborhood Favorites. We're in our second season. WHUT PBS, Neighborhood Favorites. And always remember that real style starts with being comfortable in your own skin. We will see you next time.